hearing that Iran and the U.S. will likely go back to war now. And during this ceasefire, which the U.S. really wanted to, I guess, rearm, regroup, make itself ready for a potential, another round of warfare. But we also learned that from U.S. intelligence services that Iran has rearmed much quicker than they had expected. How are you assessing this? How ready are each side now for war?
Well, the United States has been prepared to launch strikes for 6 weeks. Since the declaration of the ceasefire. Good Lord, was that back on April 15th? So now we're towards the end of May. The problem the United States now has is basically Saudi Arabia and tending to that Qatar and Kuwait. I leave Bahrain out of it because A, they're so small, B, they've been basically decimated by Iranian airstrikes, and they're not much of a player in terms of oil or gas or anything. But we saw the Saudi flex its muscles now 3 weeks ago when after Trump had announced Project Freedom to open the Strait of Hormuz. The Saudis basically said, you're not going to conduct any air operations from our territory. Shut them down. And that was real. Trump got on the phone with Mohammed bin Salman trying to talk him out of it, trying to cajole him, and MBS said no. He was firm. So that shut down that military operation. So here's Trump all ready to go again, and yet it appears the Saudis have not backed away from that prohibition. And now with the Hajj starting on Sunday, and you've got this influx of 2 to 3 million Muslims from around the world, the last thing the Saudis want to do is put themselves in a position where they're going to be attacked by Iran. And the only way they'd be attacked by Iran is if they allowed Saudi territory to be used to launch strikes against Iranian infrastructure and Iranian civilian targets. Because Iran has vowed, if that happens, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, if any of you are involved with facilitating these attacks on us, you're going to get hit. Same goes for UAE. And I think Saudis have reached a point where they don't want to go down that path. So with Eid in the way, and then so you got the Hajj on Sunday, Eid is like next Wednesday or Thursday, but you have a number of this entire journey to Mecca. It's an obligation of every Muslim to do that once in their lifetime, and it is. They go through a variety of rituals and activities to commemorate, to sort of reenact the lives of the Prophet Ibrahim and the Prophet Muhammad. So, it's very important. And the last thing Saudis want to do is get in the middle of a shooting match with Iran during this activity. So, that's why I see this as whatever Trump wants to do, he's now constrained. I have heard that the U.S. air refueling operations have been are confined to Iraq airspace, which, that creates some additional risk. But with the United States not able to transit both Saudi Arabia, essentially, if they can't transit through Saudi Arabia, it really hampers U.S. military capability, as well as Israel's. They basically have to go up through Iraq, and once you force them into, if you will, a more narrow channel, it makes it easier for air defense operations. They don't have to be focusing over a 2,000-mile front. They get to focus over a 200-mile front. Big difference. So you've got that underway. There are reported negotiations taking place both in Tehran and in Islamabad. The Pakistanis have stepped up. They have sort of the full backing of China and Russia to play a lead role in trying to bring about a peace agreement If nothing else, it may not necessarily involve the United States. If they get agreement with the Gulf Arabs and Iran, and then Turkey is also involved, and possibly Egypt, then all of a sudden the United States is irrelevant. If the Gulf Arabs shut down U.S. military operations in their countries, the United States doesn't have a lot of good options. It certainly doesn't have the air power from aircraft carriers to sustain any kind of campaign to speak of. So this is in flux, and I could make a case that despite the threats, we're going to restart, we're going to attack, I don't see anything happening until the one window would maybe be the first 2 weeks of June before the start of the World Cup, because I think once the World Cup is underway, there's going to be tremendous international pressure against the United States to stop attacking Iran.
Yeah, I can imagine a lot of the Gulf states being a bit cautious now about joining in on the war against Iran, because if, as it appears now to happen, that Iran is coming out victorious, that is
Right.
coming out on top, controlling the Strait of Hormuz, and the U.S. might be pushed out of the region, it's not a great idea to be on the losing side. So I can imagine a lot of the countries would want to begin to strike a bit of a different balance between the U.S. and Iran, essentially adjust to the new realities which are coming.
Yeah.
But if negotiations still, have a chance of succeeding, where do this stand at the moment? Because it's hard to get good information coming out. I think Trump referred to the Iranians' last proposals, or one of the last proposals, as garbage. And but is this about mainly the where the stuck is Iran's right to enrich uranium, and of course what should happen to the Strait of Hormuz? Because again, on these issues, it doesn't seem like the U.S. have a lot of negotiation power. But what I was thinking is, even if the Iran becomes out victorious, it still has an interest in the U.S. removing sanctions. So this is kind of the great card that the U.S. holds on its hands. Of course, any deal with gradual removal of sanctions, probably that's all nonsense. That's not going to happen. So,
Right.
But how do you see this? What can be actually achieved in these talks?
Well, the Iranians have not consulted with me about negotiating strategies, but I put myself in their shoes. It's no longer acceptable to say, as you pointed out, gradual relief on sanctions. No. We tried that before with JCPOA. It didn't happen. We've had repeated broken promises by the West. So going forward, the sanctions come off now, up front. And that's number one. The frozen assets, those are returned to Iran. That's number two. And the other non-negotiable point is Iran is going to continue to charge ships that want to enter the Persian Gulf or leave the Persian Gulf. They're going to have to abide by the new rules that the Persian Gulf Strait Authority, the PGSA, is now implementing. And in fact, yesterday, 36 ships went through, despite Trump's claim, we got a blockade, it's ironclad, nobody's coming through. The fact of the matter is otherwise, that the ships are starting to move. So this will provide some relief on the international economic front. Not much. It's still 2/3 of the ships that normally went through are not going through. So this is, you've got only 1/3 of the activity of normal. But the whole nuclear issue, I maintain, it's a red herring. It is. The United States has now tried to make that its central claim. That's really our concern. That's what we got to get rid of. It is, if Iran didn't have a nuclear program, and if they had never enriched 1 ounce of uranium, the United States would still be trying to destroy Iran. That's the point. And it has nothing to do with whether Iran is in, quote, a quest for a nuclear weapon. I watched this organization in Canada, the Monk Society. They host debates. So they did a debate on Wednesday that pitted John Mearsheimer and Stephen Walt against Victoria Nuland and Mike Pompeo. And what caught my attention was this narrative, the neocon narrative that is built up, that, like Saddam Hussein was a monster because he had chemical weapons, without any acknowledgement whatsoever from Pompeo and Nuland that we, the United States, were the ones who facilitated those chemical weapons by providing the precursors. And not only that, we provided biological agents as well, bioweapons. So there is, as the United States approaches these negotiations, there is no historical memory. I mean, from Iran's perspective, it's like they're negotiating with an Alzheimer's patient. The United States can't remember what the hell it did 2 years ago. They barely know where they are now. So this claim that, it's a deal stopper unless Iran gives up its enriched material. Now, reportedly yesterday, Mojtaba Khamenei, the new Ayatollah, said, no, our nuclear material, it's not even on the table. And frankly, from Iran's standpoint, as a sovereign nation, why should they give it up? They've signed the NPT. They've allowed IAEA inspections. But they have been the victim of persistent, constant attacks, terrorist attacks, murdering of nuclear scientists. Not only what took place last June, but what took place before. So I can see Iran just asserting its sovereignty and saying, no, the West is not going to dictate to us what we do. We are a sovereign country and have every right to do this.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. But I also hear that the U.S. intelligence are not just making the point that the Iranians are rearming, but they're also apparently telling Trump now that the Strait of Hormuz is it can't be opened, that it can't be done. So I'm not sure who else has been whispering in his ears, probably Netanyahu, that they should have another go nonetheless. But if you can't open up the Strait of Hormuz, if you can't defeat the Iranians, what is the point of going back to war? Because it appears that this is becoming a very real possibility. Or again, I'm not sure how likely you think the United States will attack Iran again.
Yeah, just to reinforce the point, it's not just the U.S. intelligence community. Admiral Daryl Caudle, Caudle, testifying for Congress yesterday, said, "Hey, we don't have the military capability to open the Strait of Hormuz." That was his message. It would be too costly, too risky to try to send ships in there to attack Iranian positions, because Iran has such an arsenal, a multi-layered arsenal that can be brought to bear on any ship entering the strait, that the United States isn't capable of destroying those. So an honest assessment of U.S. military capability, and there are some in the military that have pushed this forward, but it appears that Admiral Brad Cooper, the commander of CENTCOM, the boy lacks a spine. And I'm calling him a boy because he's he's about 20 years younger than me, and God, what a cowardly bureaucrat this cat is. He was being questioned before Congress the other day by Congressman Seth Moulton. Seth was a Marine, served in the Marine Corps, left Harvard to go serve in the Marine Corps, so not your typical Marine. And Seth was asking just to define the difference between degraded and obliterated. And, he played word games. He wouldn't, I can't talk about the nuclear program. And Moulton goes, I'm not asking about the nuclear program. I'm simply asking about your word usage. What's the difference between degraded and obliterated? And he wouldn't answer the question. So when you've got a military commander playing those kinds of games and being more of a politician than a military leader, because what you need is a military officer that doesn't give a damn about the politics and frankly could care less whether he gets promoted, whether he gets fired, doesn't care, that he's going to come in and tell it exactly as he sees it. And to say the reality, Congressman Moulton, is we have not obliterated Iran's military capabilities. As the CIA, I was pleased to see, has been briefing Congress, at least, something that it appears to be much more closer to the truth than anything that the Trump administration is saying, noting that not only have we not destroyed the majority of Iran's ballistic missile capability and air defense systems and their ability to construct new ballistic missiles and launch them, but they appear to have enhanced their capabilities since the ceasefire was declared. Now, what is it, 8 weeks ago? So the United States is caught between Trump's rhetoric and between what the United States actually can do. The only thing we can do going forward would be to launch some new set of airstrikes, and if we're prevented from using Saudi Arabian airspace, then we have to go through Iraq, which then creates new security vulnerabilities for the attacking force, because Iran's no longer Iran with the support of Russia and China. They're going to know exactly where to focus all their intelligence assets to collect. They'll know what's coming, where it's coming from, and we'll be able to mount some defenses accordingly. Plus, they can deploy groups with shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles into theater. All they've got to do, they don't have to take out an F-35. All they have to do is take out the tankers, like they did before. 3 or 4 weeks into the start of the war.